Okay, I'm just going to walk you through a Rails app that I created. I just added some JavaScript features that I will kind of show you what I added. Let me log in. Log in. There we go. Just logged in via Facebook. First page that we come to once we log in is basically our user show page, and this is who the current user is. And this is their page um, for today. Or for the user show page, it shows a list of meals for the current day, which is April 18th. It looks like I have a meal created during that date. And it's just a list um, showing the date and time and the calories, and then the table. Um, Essentially, I have macronutrient trackers for each page that we kind of visit, whether it's all these meals. So for today's meals, it's going to add up all the meals. Um, so if we have 3 meals, it adds up all those meals, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and kind of combines them all together to kind of give us a macronutrient um, content, grams, and then we have percentage of calories for each macronutrient. So this one's kind of an encompassing um, all these meals into this table. And so that's kind of how we have it displayed, and just some of the features that I have for this particular page that I added. Basically have a couple of links here where the user can create a meal, and if they wanted to create a meal for today, they could pick the date, which is going to be April 18th, and let's just say that'll be late. We'll just say that, and you can select a food you want to put in your meal, and you can select a serving, and then I also have these links within the form which you can click on, and it gives you you can click on more, so you can add more foods if you wanted. So you could do sushi, maybe 2, and you could put another one here, 1 serving of chicken. And then if you wanted to create a food, you could create some foods. Let's just do this for right now. Tortilla chips. And then you can type in their macronutrient content if you wanted to do something like that, or let's just say 3 servings of chips. And then you could also click on this link and it gives you another food. You could create another food for this meal as well. And so it just kind of gives you different fields. And you don't have to click on the link, it would still create a meal. But we can fill this out like this. Let's just say grapes, 13, 1, 0, and we'll say a couple servings of grapes. So let's say this is our meal composition, and here's our table. And so when we go to create this meal, the meal will go into effect. And since it's for today, this will just be displayed here with under this headline, and the table will change because it's going to take into account this meal now. So we'll go ahead and create the meal, and we did all that without reloading the page. So we essentially sent an AJAX post request and added the meal to our database under this user, and then displayed it back for a meal for today, and then updated our table, as you can see right here. And we all did that without having to reload the page. So that's one of the features that we added. And then you could even come here, and if you wanted to create another meal, let's say you wanted to create one for tomorrow, you could come here, and let's say April 19th, and we'll say we'll create a breakfast or something for tomorrow. We could select a food, let's say potato, a couple potatoes, and maybe an egg, a couple eggs or something. And then if we create this food, this will not be taken into account. It will not be displayed here, and it will not change this table because it's not a meal for today. So, but it will still get added to this user's meals. So if come tomorrow, if I log back on, I would now see this meal that I'm creating, and these meals won't show, but this meal will. So if I go ahead and create this meal, I created the meal, but it didn't change your table. It didn't change display here, but so that's kind of the way that feature works. Kind of creating a meal, it kind of gives you those options to add foods if you want, like this, or if you want to create more foods, you can create and add as many foods as you want, really. And you can also hide that back and then kind of redisplay it, but you can hide it, kind of do whatever you want with it. And then you also have a feature or a link here that I just kind of threw in where you can see basically all the meals that the user created, not just today's meals, but you can go ahead and click this link and it will get all the meals that the user has ever created and go ahead and list them. And as you can see, I've created a lot of meals. Probably should delete some of these, but I have all these meals that I've created, and within this list, and you can go ahead and hide it, see it, hide it, however you want. And then with each meal, you can go ahead and kind of click, and you can see within that meal the foods. So you can kind of open up a few of them here and look at each meal. That meal doesn't seem to have any foods, but this one does. Some of these meals don't have foods yet, but you can kind of hide these, see them as you go. So yeah, that's just another feature that you have on this page where you can go, and then if you go down here, you can kind of see that meal that we just created but didn't display, and that's that meal for tomorrow that will show up when we log back in tomorrow. And you see potato and egg right there. So you can kind of see that meal we just created. This is the other meal we created. We have the grapes, the chips, and basically all our foods. So that's kind of how this page, this user page works. I kind of call this just the basic profile page, and basically just looking at all the context, looking at all your meals that you have listed for the current day. So that's how that page works, and creating meals kind of updates as you go. And then if we were going to go and click on one of these meals, so let's click on this meal, April 18th. It takes us to the meal show page. So meal for Thursday, April 18th at 10 a.m. and it will show us the individual meals macronutrient composition. So just a kind of a different context, but it's just looking at that single meal, and you can kind of see that this single meal has this many grams of carbohydrates, protein, and fat, and then they're compromising their contribution to the calories. You can see the percentage there. So, so you're just getting a different look on the table. And then a couple of the features that I have for this table, or for this page, is I can go ahead and click on this, and it shows us each food within that meal. So I can click on that, and it gives us, click on this button, and it gives us, goes ahead and displays each food for the meal. And as you can see, we have ice cream, sushi, and soup. And if we were going to, and with this kind of list, we have kind of how many servings it has, and then we also have a remove option. So we can go ahead and let's say we're going to remove ice cream. It will update this. It will go ahead and remove this item from this meal and change this display and update the table. And we did that without having to reload the page. So it's, again, we're using Ajax to kind of send that patch request to change the meal. And then we can kind of see the macronutrient composition change as we go. And let's say we were going to add a food now to the meal. So let's say we put, make sure we have, let's just say we throw a potato in there, a couple servings. So if we're going to add this food, we would expect this food to be added to the list and also update our table with its own composition. So this potato will have a composition, and then throwing this in with these other foods, it will change the macronutrient composition of this meal. So if we add that food, it gets added to the list, and you can see that the table changed. And you can see that we added this change here was because the potato came with its own set of carbohydrate, protein, and fat, and it kind of added into the composition we already had. And if we we're going to remove that, it would kind of go back to the original that we had. So we can go back and put potato there, and it will give us that back, and we can remove it, change back. Another feature that we have here is we have a create foods again here. So if there was a food, these are all the foods that we have in our database that we can pick from that already have compositions established, so we can pick through that list of the foods. But let's say there's a food on here that that we can't find, and we want to just add it to the meal. We can go ahead and create a food, and if we wanted, this also has a hide option, so you can create and hide that feature. But let's create a food. We will say taco. We'll have 12, 3, 7, and we'll say 3 tacos. And then when we create the food, we want it to be added, and then we want this to update our table. And there we go. We have the taco, and we have it updated our composition, our macronutrient composition for the meal. So those are the JavaScript features that we have for this particular page. And so yeah, that's kind of what we have going on there. And you can kind of see, we can look at if you wanted to look at that individual food. So for one serving, we have 12 grams 3, which is what we just plugged in. And you can kind of update that if you want. Let's say you just wanted to reverse that. Let's say we'd rather have that type of composition for this food. We can update the food, and then we can go back to our profile, and it should have changed. It would change this. Obviously, since this meal changed, it would change this composition now that we're displaying. If we're going to go back and look at that, it would change this composition as well. But yeah, this is how we change it. So you can update the foods as you will, and you can just see the macronutrient composition. The basic feature, or the basic display, we just wanted consistency with the right context for a food, for a meal, and then for today's meals. So we just want that. That's what the kind of this app is just designed to show us. So yeah, that's basically it. And as far as showing the, I also have a meals index view here that shows a meal. Whoever created the meal just shows you an individual, but that's not really part of the app. I just have that thrown in there. But those are all the JavaScript features that I've added so far. Still working on kind of cleaning up making it look better, but that's to come. But yeah, that's what I have so far. So that's it.